We're back with Dr. Gary Bell, owner of Spinal Dynamics Hawaii, Serenity Spa and Salon in the Outrigger Reef Hotel, and the Waikiki Plantation Spa in the Outrigger Waikiki on the beach.
Let's talk about the business side then. When you first got out of school, you have all this knowledge in terms of, how to crack someone's back or how to fix their spine. I don't know if that's the way you say it, but what about running a business? Because that's something that, do they teach that in chiropractic school?
Well,
how do you know?
Well, when you come out of school, the first thing you have is debt.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all that you think of. And then all of a sudden you're basically thrust into the world.
What kind of debt? I mean, like, what is the debt from a chiropractic school, like medical school, where you're talking about hundreds of thousands?
Pretty much the same. The average. Actually, I was just at a seminar over the weekend with Malik Schlossberg, who's he's a doctor, and basically he gives us all the latest and greatest information compiled and condensed. And what he was saying is that the average student coming out of school now has got over $100,000 in debt. Those are health education assistance loans, as well as the how should I say, the other more traditional loans, the Sally Mae kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But you really have to watch how much money you borrow, because when you come out, the more debt you have, the more difficulty you're going to have getting over the hump.
Because you can't get loans to start your business?
No one will lend you money. I actually, when I came out of school, I was fortunate enough because I was raised in Hawaii. I had a lot of personal friends, and I also had a lot of contacts and people that I grew up with here. Some of them were in the bank industry, and some of them were in the healthcare industry. So for me, my start was, I had a little bit of kindle in the fire, so to speak.
You went straight into your own practice, or did you start with someone else?
Well, actually, when I did come back to Hawaii, I was sort of lured into a situation working for somebody, and rather than be liable for names.
What do you mean lured by? I mean,
basically, there are times where other chiropractors need associates, and my first associateship was actually a very bad experience where the other doctor was collecting off of my income, and then basically you can have percentage arrangements within a corporation.
So you're not salaried then when you first come out of school?
No, my initial thing was, there was a salary and then a percentage. Well, it didn't take long to figure out that when you do work for other people, that you're really at a disadvantage. They are holding the gold. They're making the rules. And if they have financial troubles, which was the situation I was in, their financial troubles became my financial troubles because the paychecks weren't coming. Took about 6 months to figure it out, and then I met up with a gentleman, Paul Burns, who had a practice on Ward Avenue in a rehabilitation center. I walked into a great situation. He really took care of me, because typically even medical doctors, the rule of thumb, medical doctors and chiropractors, they eat their young. And the thing is, unless you spark that entrepreneurial personality, and you have to go out and shake hands and kiss babies and basically tell everybody what it is that you do, who you are, what you are, and where you are. If you don't have those three basics set, you'll sit in your office all day and wonder where your patients are going to come from.
So what did you learn from that first experience that helped you in the future?
Basically that in any business relationship, you want to have as much control over the finances as possible. And unless you're willing to accept a downgraded relationship, and again, if the company has financial problems and you're dependent on them to support you, if they're having problems, you're instantly going to have a problem, and then you have trouble.
So how did you develop your skills then? Because you say go off on your own and be in control of the finances. Well, Well, you're not born knowing business, and even through school, I'd taken business courses. Again, being fortunate enough to have been raised in a more entrepreneurial household. Even with my grandfather, who lived here at he lived at the Ilokai since the '60s. He was working till he was 90 years old with a T-shirt business that was phenomenal. And whether he actually had contracts with all of AFES and Schofield, Hickam, and I helped him work whatever business I did. I worked on the weekends. I wasn't a kid that just hung out on the beach every day when I was here. On the weekends you did a little bit here and there, but you still got to work. And our family was in a work model.
So were you raised thinking that you were going to open up a business yourself, or were you just exposed to the business?
Well, after how should I say, my first experience, it's basically you're pushed in the water. And you're either going to learn very quickly how to swim, and my theory is don't learn how to swim, jump in a boat, and then go as fast as you can, because what you want to do is, you have to actually sustain your debt as well as build your income in your future. I started a family, in my 30s. That's the thing. Other people may be at a disadvantage when they're starting their family in their 20s and they're not out of school yet. And I see a lot of this now, where people are, they're having to work 2 jobs, and they have 2 children before they're 25, and they're accumulating debt while they're in school. Extremely difficult. So, that's one thing I tell people that really want to be successful in business. Believe in birth control until you're 30. Get your schooling out of the way.
So, how do you go about doing that, managing between that school debt or whatever, consumer credit debt, and then running this business? How do you manage your time doing that? What do you focus on in order to make it over that hump where, you're profitable and you're making it? Well,
the term making it is a relative term, especially for people who are entrepreneurial, because just like with the how should I say, the advent now of all this world tour poker. Everybody's watching poker. Everyone's almost in a gambling mode. Hawaii's really tied into Vegas. Well, it's the thing about being an entrepreneur is that there are times where you just have to go all in, and you have to believe in yourself, and you have to believe in your support group that's around you, and they're in turn going to believe in you. But when you go all in, you got to understand that the percentages have to be behind you. Don't just take a wild risk. Take calculated risks. Read the market research. The internet is a phenomenal resource. Just type in marketresearch.com. Some of it you'll have to pay for. Some of it you don't.
So it wasn't trade journals. Were you reading trade journals, or where do you get market research from?
I read whatever I can get my hands on. If you're in Hawaii, you better read the Pacific Business News. Although the news may be a week old, but then again, you're gonna see where the trail is leading. You're gonna feel the pulse of business in Hawaii. That's about the only traditional journal that I believe in. But then again, you'll have to read everything from New York Times to LA Times. You got to see what's going on in the country to know the different technologies that are being developed, things that are coming out of Europe. Again, the internet is a phenomenal tool that you can read all of these things, but see what's going on. The price of oil, even, you think, well, how is that going to affect me? It's going to affect everything about you, whatever industry you're in. Right now, I'm paying an additional 10% to 12% on shipping in all of our goods to Hawaii, because they don't make oil. Well, they do make some oils and lotions here, but a lot of the supplies we have for the spa, they have to come from the West Coast, some of them from the East Coast, and some of them are coming from Europe. So, you can't just change your menu prices every day to compensate for it, and, it hurts.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for more on Greater Good Radio.